Kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello and welcome to episode 149, I think we're on, for the Rotten Views podcast. The number would be up in the title anyway, so if I got this wrong in the intro, I'm sorry, but you know, it is what it is. We got another fun one set up, which is kind of cool in a sense. Like, this movie's about toxic waste and stuff, and like there's a lot of haze and smoke in the air lately in Canada, so it's fine. You know, the toxic waste is a lot worse than the haze, but you know, it's one in its own, you know, it's Troma. So we're watching Class of Nuke'Em High, if you guys didn't figure that out by the title, from 1986 for an hour and 25 minutes. It's a horror sci-fi comedy, and it's on Tubi, because I've been loving Tubi again. Now that I'm back into watching stuff on Tubi, it's great. I love the app. It's a great app, and I definitely highly recommend it. So Tubi, if you want to sponsor the podcast, I am totally for that, okay? I know there's a lot of other podcasts that use you, and you know, people have nothing but great things to say about Tubi. But if you want to pick the Rotten Views podcast, I'd highly appreciate that. But yeah, quick synopsis rundown. Right off of Tubi, students at a high school next to a nuclear power plant start acting and looking strange after buying contaminated drugs from a plant worker. It's directed by Lloyd Kaufman. Of course, you guys should know him. Troma himself, Toxic Avenger, and then Richard W. Haynes, who's also the editor from the Toxic Avenger. He was an editor in Soft Money, whatever the hell that is. Yeah, he's done a lot of editing jobs, because he's also an editor for Alien Space Avenger from 1989. I have no idea what that movie is, but now I'm definitely adding that to my watch list, because why not? That just sounds interesting as hell. This movie has a 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb, 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 4.6 out of 5 on Amazon. 85% of Google users apparently like this movie. Our initial release date was December 12th, 1986. The budget is a little weird on this one, because it says 400,000 and then it also says 2 million. So I'm not sure if it's somewhere in between. That's a pretty big jump, especially for something that's distributed by Troma Entertainment. But who knows? It could be, it's somewhere in there, I guess. But before we get talking about this movie at hand, if you guys could check out my links, my social medias and whatnot, the links would be down below. But for those of you, I mentioned this at the end of the podcast as well, but for those that don't make it to the end, because you know, you might not want to listen to my voice the whole time, I understand. Feel free to go check out those links though, you know, the Instagram, the Twitter, TikTok, but the main thing being the YouTube channel. Of course, we're pushing that very hard. We're getting higher up there in the numbers, and actually I just had an intro gameplay video on Wednesday. I actually broke over 200 views, which I think is crazy, because usually my shorts do well, but they're kind of in the down slope right now, because I got to figure out what content I'm going to make. But the intro video on the full-length video actually got over 200 views, so that's actually pretty cool. I appreciate all that, and that was in like the first 48 hours, so that's awesome. So if you guys wouldn't mind checking that out, because we do the weekly gaming videos on every Wednesday. We upload older episodes of the podcast as well, and then obviously I'm trying to do as many YouTube shorts as possible, but I just got trying to find the content that people enjoy. Been doing a lot of wrestling pieces lately, and it just seems like not too many people I apparently haven't hit the right niche for the wrestling art. But I'm going to be doing that a lot, because I'm working again with some promotions, and we got some digital artwork coming out as well for a local show here in town, well, next town over. But you know, well, maybe I should post that one. It was a fun piece to do, so maybe we'll do that. Some how-to videos are going to be coming out as well. I just got to edit them up, and, you know, that's a hell of a hassle. But we are pretty much like almost going to be 3 or 4 weeks ahead on the podcast, so maybe I'll be able to do that soon. Hopefully that's a plan, at least. I obviously still have a lot of plans and things I want to get done, so hopefully in the next coming weeks I'll be able to get like just a small fraction, maybe like 10% of the things that I want done, hopefully. But we'll see how it goes. It is what it is, and and with it being summer now, and it's super humid lately, doing a podcast and having the fan on, I don't think it was really good, because me personally, I can hear the fan in the background. I don't know, let me know down in the comments below if it bothers you guys or not, because I gotta find the ideal time to record now where I'm not going to pass out from sweating so much because I'm a fat ass. But besides that, everything's going great, so I'm just gonna stop rambling and get right into the podcast, because you guys are here to listen to me talk about the movie for some goddamn reason, and I don't understand why, but I appreciate it nonetheless. As always, before we do get started in the podcast, like I said on all the other ones, I'm going to talk from the start of the movie to pretty much the end of the movie, and hit all the points in between. So if you guys don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1986 before I was even born, you guys can definitely pause it now. Go hit up the Tubi app, download if you don't have it. Simple, quick, easy download. You can even log in as a guest if you don't want to create an account. Go find the movie. Go watch it on there, and then come back after you're done watching the movie and listen to me talk about the movie, because, why not? But enough of that all mumble-jumble crap. Let's get right into the movie at hand.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
welcome to Tromaville High, an average American high school with one exception. It's located only 1 mile away from a nuclear power plant. They said it was 100% safe. But they were wrong.
There's no danger, Governor. We have the situation well in hand.
Welcome to the Class of Nuke'Em High.
We're the youth of today.
Yes, at Nuke'Em High, anything can happen. And does. The Class of Nuke'Em High, where you'll learn the 3 R's. Reading, writing, and radiation. The Class of Nuke'Em High. Rated R.
Get that movie starting out with that classic Troma team release intro, that classic New York's picture and the sound effects and everything. Just love it. Amazing. Then we see that same skyline view as it's coming in. The camera starts to pan. It's a very hazy skyline that we're seeing. It's kind of like what we're seeing here in Canada at, most times at sunfall, and even early in the morning, to be honest with you, at some point in times. We have the intro credits coming in as we kind of pan around on this nuclear power plant, and it's just the music's kind of deep and just trying to set the atmosphere for everything that's going on. And then we see a bunch of people just walking around in hazmat suits, because apparently, because it's a nuclear power plant, you just walk around in full-on hazmat suit all the time. I don't know. I've never worked at a power plant. I wouldn't know the protocols for clothing and whatnot. Then the music starts to pick up a little bit as we're looking in at these canisters that all have danger written on them, and they're kind of smoking at the same time. And then this pipe starts to shake a little bit, and it starts to smoke, and you can just tell it's going to pretty much break. And then all this hot looking water comes out that kind of has a little bit of a green color to it, and the alarm comes on, and everyone starts running like fucking rats. Then we see Pat Ryan playing Mr. Paley. He was also, I think, the mayor from Toxic Avenger. He's on the phone with the mayor in this movie. Danger, there's no danger, mayor. Everything's under control, don't worry about it, mayor. And then he hangs up the phone, and then one of the workers comes over saying that there's toxic level 3 water that is escaping the pipelines now. And then the worker's like, it could contaminate the whole town. The Mr. Paley's like, that's not so bad, just scrub down the area and clean it up a little bit, it's fine, everything's gonna be fine. Then one of the safety workers is saying how they should close in the plant to clean everything up. He's like, I don't care what fart what you say, the plant's staying open. And then we just see all the kids getting ready to go into the Tromaville High School, which is literally right across the street from the nuclear power plant, which I thought was pretty bad when I went to school, because my school was out, my high school was out in the middle of nowhere besides some cow fields, and then around that was just a bunch of graveyards. And apparently they always told stories about how the water would come from underneath the graveyards, and then one year we didn't have water for drinking fountains because apparently it was contaminated. But I'm just on a tangent now at this point in time, just relating to the movie and Troma, I guess, in general. Anyways, then we see one of the kids in school going to take some water from the drinking fountain, and then it starts to come out green. He's like, ugh, tastes weird. Oh, I wonder why. Does the water always look green, sir? Maybe that's the issue. Then we cut to inside of class where the music's just blasting. We see a bunch of punk rockers, but they also look like they're out of like Mad Max. They got face paint and everything on them. Well, there's like a group of them, and then everyone else is just like a bunch of random normal students. And the teacher's just this old lady, just like walking back and forth, shuffling, all nervous because she's like, I can't control these kids at all. And then she yells and tells them all to shut up. And then the teacher goes on about how all the kids don't put effort into the class, and the only kid that put actual effort into his work is Dewey, which is the kid who was drinking the water from the fountain, and now he's in the classroom, like kind of twitching a little bit, making weird sounds, and you can definitely tell something's gonna happen to him. And then the PA system comes on, and the principal is telling everyone to leave because of the nuclear contamination. And we see Dewey getting up, and he's like walking and shaking as he's trying to line up against the wall because everyone needs to go up against the wall. And then Dewey starts feeling the hair of this other guy. The guy starts getting pissed off, and then Dewey starts going back at him, and they start choking him, and foam and green foam comes out of Dewey's mouth, and the guy's looking up and like, Dewey, what is it? Something I said to you, man? Like, well, why are you choking me, dude? And then the whole class just thinks, it's a bunch of teenagers having a fight. And then the green slime starts coming out of Dewey's ears as well. And then Dewey does the Toxic Avenger run to the glass window and jump out the window scene. Then as he's on the sidewalk on his back screaming in pain, we literally just see the flesh being melted off of his face as everyone's just standing there watching, screaming. And then we just see a skeleton on the ground as it's starting to smoke. And the guy that Dewey was beating up, he's like, wow, that was one way to evacuate the building. And then we cut to a scene where we're in front of the school, and now the school sign says Nuke'Em High. And then the intro credits start to play as the Nuke'Em High theme song plays. We see a bunch of kids around school, and then we also see like the radiation specialists walking around with their hazmat suits with their radar detectors or whatever, radiation level detectors. I forget the technical term for them. I'm not that intelligent. Aha! But it's called a Geiger counter because it's a word they use in the song. I would have never remembered that name at all, to be honest with you. Then we see Mr. Paley leaving the nuclear lab, and apparently it's only been like the next day because there's a bunch of reporters out there that starting to question. He's like, so is there any connection with the nuclear plant leak and the student killing herself yesterday? He's like, don't be silly. There's nothing. There's no, not at all. Apparently telling the reporters, like, what, we found out the student who killed himself had not one, but two microwave ovens. That's probably a contributing factor as to why he killed himself. He was, frying himself with his double microwaves. Then we see Eddie and his girlfriend Kathy going down to the fallout shelter in the school to make out and get it on. But then we see up in the ceiling, the green nuclear waste slime is starting to seep through the ceiling and down. And it's falling on the bed that they're making out on. And it's also falling on all the survival crackers because, you don't want to waste those crackers, right? And then she feels something hit her stomach as he's pulling up her shirt. And she's like, you fucking pig, and slaps him in the face, and he just walks away. He's like, what? You're wanting to have sex by the looks of it. You just slapped him because something fell on you. And then we have Chrissy with the boys like Warren and Eddie and someone else, and Chrissy's like, there's a lot of things that have been happening around. It's like Mrs. Brooke lost all her hair, and then there's all these swords and everything. And then Eddie's just like, nah, there's nothing crazy happening around here. You're just crazy. Then Eddie's like, so what if there's some radiation around here? Who gives a shit? It's fine, everything's gonna be fine, don't worry about it, Chrissy. And then we find out that the Mad Max looking kids were apparently the Honor Society at one day. We didn't see them as the Honor Society, but then they literally changed over to creeps within like days. Alright. Then we see the Honor Society going to beat up a nerd because apparently he owes them money for the joint that he took yesterday. And one of the girls in the Honor Society has a Hitler stash. And there's another one that's blackface, but he's got like the headhunter look to him with the big ring in his nose and his ear. And I think they're like trying to stretch his neck. It's whatever works, I guess. Then they beat up the nerd kid as they're going to leave. And one of the girls in the group is like a bull because she like charges up her attack and like headbutts him in the stomach and then starts stepping on his gonads, which looks painful. Then they're doing some kind of like party outside where there's a table set up with cake and whatnot, and then the one guy rides his bike through the crowd and crashes into the table where the cake is, and then all the cake goes up in the air. Then one of the Mad Max people was mad at Gonzo because he's the one that's kind of like in blackface with the big rings in his nose, and apparently he's got to go over to the power plant to get weed, and he's upset because he has a date. And apparently he spends too much time watching MTV. It's building up the plot, right? Building up the character. Then we see two of the guys at the power plant getting ready to have lunch, and they gotta open up their nuclear safety containers. One guy's like, hey, what you got? Chicken sandwich. You see a giant chicken leg just hanging out of the goddamn sandwich. Like, how you gonna eat that, dude? You ain't gonna eat that. Then we see the nuclear waste group showing up for their delivery of the weed. And he's like, oh, look at those high school students. The one guy's got a full-on fucking beard. and looks like Tom Savini. And then we find out the nuclear waste crew is actually growing weed behind the nuclear facility. And he's like, it's a high security building. Don't worry about it. Nobody's ever going to find out about it. As we grow up beside the toxic waste containers, then one of the Mad Max guys is like, oh man, it grows so fast here. And then the other guy's like, oh, we can call it atomic high. That way we can charge more money for it, dudes. Then we see the kids hanging out at like some restaurant, but like I see on the table like a Popeyes box, but I didn't see an actual Popeyes sign on the restaurant. And then there's like some old cherry cola cans by the looks of it. I'm not too sure, but it's Eddie and hitting on a bunch of the girls essentially. And one of the girls is like, hey, you ever see a cockroach and go ugh? And then she's like, well, when the cockroach sees you, it goes yuck. He's inviting all the girls over to his house. He's like, yeah, be there at 8 o'clock. It's also an indoor beach party, so make sure to bring your bikinis because it's an indoor beach party. Okay, guys? Okay. Then later on, Eddie's trying to convince Warren to go to the party at his house, but Warren's more focused on trying to get a little bit better grades, that way he can get into college and get somewhat of a career going. Then the Misfit crew there, the Mad Max crew, whatever, pin Eddie down the hallway, be like, hey, I got some new weed, $10 for one joint, huh? How about you buy it? It's special merchandise. It's gonna be well worth the high. Then the guys pull Eddie off to the side. He's like, we call it an atomic high. It gets the ladies really hot. Then we cut into like this frat house that's having a giant party, and like there's a disco ball and there's light up walls and everything, and it's like, holy shit, where did you get the fucking money for all this shit? Then we see Warren and Chrissy showing up to the party, and Chrissy's looking around like all shocked as she sees a bunch of people making out threesomes and this and that, and Chrissy's like, I wish we went somewhere else, actually, to be honest with you, Warren. Then this random girl walks over that's got no top on, and Chrissy just covers up Warren's eyes like, you can't see those at all, you're bad. And Chrissy's talking to a couple of friends like, I think this party's a little bit too wild for me and Warren, to be honest with you. And Warren's just looking around and being like, all these other people are making out, why can't I ever make out with anyone? And we find out Warren's actually a nice guy. He wants to sleep with Chrissy, but he doesn't want to rush her. And then we see her talking to her friends, and they both think each other's shy, so they don't want to rush with each other, even though they both want to do it. And Chrissy's friends are like, oh, Warren's going off to college. If you don't nail him down soon, he's just going to be nailing all these other college girls. You should probably do that soon. And then Eddie gives or forces the joint into Warren's mouth. He's like, this joint's only for Warren and Chrissy. Don't touch it, you bimbo. And then Warren's girlfriend, or no, Eddie's girlfriend takes it, and she puts it in Chrissy's mouth, and Chrissy looks all shocked, like, what's this? I've never had this before. And then as we see like Warren and Chrissy taking puffs off the joint, they make the weirdest faces ever. And then at one point, Warren just throws the joint down the ground, and someone steps on it, and then Eddie starts screaming. He's like, it's ruined. Everything I spent my money on is ruined. It's like, it's $10, dude. Look at the party that you're throwing. Then we see Chrissy up in the bedroom, kind of like feeling herself up. And then Warren goes upstairs to get ready because he's going to take her to the movies. And he's like fully dressed again, and he's pouring a beer. And then he looks over at Chrissy on the bed, who's literally just filling up herself, saying how much she wants him. He's like, what? Are you okay? Are you sure you're okay? Because I mean, like the joint didn't do anything for me. And then she literally throws him down on the bed. Then Eddie goes to fill up a girl and say, hey baby, you want to go snorkeling? And she just literally turns around and wails him right in the fucking face. And then Warren's like, hey Chrissy, we can't, there's Barry going downstairs. And she literally just takes her top off. He's like, what do you mean we can't? And then Warren gets up to get naked, and he literally falls over because he's so excited out of enjoyment and glee. And then we cut to seeing Eddie filling out the back of what he thinks is a girl, and then they turn around, they have a mustache. He's like, actually I'm gonna go walk over here to this side of the party. Actually, I'm sorry about that, man, I didn't mean to touch you up. And then Eddie and the friend go to check on Chrissy and Warren, and they see they're doing it, and for whatever reason the one friend pulls up binoculars that has eyeballs glued on the other end of it. But anyways, Eddie's like, oh, we gotta go get more of that weed right now. And then we cut to Warren taking Chrissy home, and they're on the porch, and I'm looking at this door that Chrissy's going to go into, and it's like the smallest door I've ever seen in my goddamn life. Like, not height wise, like width wise, it's super fucking skinny. I don't know why, at least it looks skinny to me. Maybe it's because I'm just a big guy, but it looks really fucking skinny. I know, really good observation and stuff you want to look out for, but it is what it is. Then we see Warren in bed, and he's having some kind of like flashbacks or something's going on where he's thinking about Chrissy, and then like he's starting to like breathe heavy, and he's starting to shake a little bit, and then we look at his face, and like these warts are starting to grow on his face, and the camera angle starts to like invert, and it's just, you know, him transforming into like a mutated monster of some sort. And then out of nowhere, he pitches a giant tent, if you know what I mean. And then he notices he pitches said tent and looks up as very happy man, and it's like, that's gonna kill someone, dude. That's gonna kill. Then we cut to Chrissy in bed, who's having the same like effects kind of thing. She's having like remembering about at the party and her talking to her friends, how she wants to have sex with Warren, and the camera picture starts to change a bit again, and we see her belly start to grow a bit, and she notices her belly growing, and she starts freaking out, and then this like black worm thing comes out of her belly button, and she starts panicking. And then we cut back to Warren, who's very happy as he still sees his tent getting bigger and bigger as it keeps going and going. Then out of nowhere, his chest starts to grow on the one side, and like this black worm thing comes out his nipple, and he starts freaking out. And then he wakes up, and he's sweaty, and he looks down and, you know, pulls out his pants and looks down. He's like, oh, okay, everything's fine, and goes back to bed. Then the next day, Warren's like, what did you put in that weed? He's like, I got really sick afterwards. And Eddie's like, you know what are you talking about? You're drunk and stuff. He's like, no, I started hallucinating. That's when Eddie tells him that they got it from like the Cretans or whatever they call them, the Mad Max crew. And he's like, they could have put anything in them. Why are you getting drugs from them for? And then Warren goes to sit down with Chrissy at the lunch table. He's like, so did you have any hallucinations by chance last night? And she's like, oh, you too? And that's when Chrissy finds out that the weed was from the Cretans as well. And then one of the Cretans actually walks over and just starts picking up the spaghetti off their food tray and starts eating it, as they have some classic 7-Up cans on the table as well. And Warren gets all pissed off and wants to fight the Cretan, and then Chrissy's like, no, just sit down. He's like, well, somebody's got to do something about the Cretans. And she's like, just let it be someone else, please. Then there's like the German teacher, and the main Cretan guy goes up and starts kissing her as he's talking German to her. And then next thing I know, I think it's her in the washroom doing some makeup on her face as she's become one of the Cretans. And then we cut to Warren walking down the steps in the school with Eddie. He almost falls down the step, and he's like, what's the matter with you? He's like, I'm gonna kill those Cretans. It made me so fucking sick from that weed you gave us. Then we see Warren driving home. It's a point of view from his eyes as we see him trying to make it up to his front door. It just shows his feet every now and then as he's kind of like shuffling, and he can't walk straight at all, and he's very dizzy, feeling very sick because of the drugs that he took, because of the nuclear waste contamination inside. He walks in the door, tells his mom that he's home, and she's like, make sure you wipe your feet and do your homework before dinner, okay? Or you're not getting any food and no dessert, okay? Make sure you do your homework. Then as he's like walking through the home, he's making it to like the living room area. Some of the lights start to flicker, and they start to come on, and then he coughs, and the light comes on, and then next thing you know, the record player starts playing a record, and he's looking all around confused, like, what the hell is going on? Then we just see him grabbing his throat as he's, you know, like grasping for air. And then the next thing we know, we see a sign, welcome to Tromaville. Then we see the main Cretan coming down the stairs of like his home, and he's got a bottle of Alka-Seltzer in his hand for whatever reason. I don't know. Also, he's taking the Alka-Seltzer tablet, and I had no idea those things were literally that big. Anyway, he takes one and he starts foaming from the mouth on the ground, and the other buddy goes to get an old lady's friend. He's like, you gotta help us, lady. You gotta help us, lady. Come on, you gotta hurry up. He's gonna die any minute. Come on, help him. And the friend's like, you could save a life if you put your pocketbook inside his mouth. That way he doesn't bite his tongue off, lady. Come on, put the pocketbook in his mouth. They get the pocketbook, and the next thing they're laughing about it, she starts screaming, and they literally spit in her face. And then next thing you know, the main Cretan Spike is literally pounding her face in as she's on the sidewalk. We see the one Cretan making a deal, another guy down in the back alleyway, as Spike's still fighting the old lady. And then out of nowhere, we see, you know, this mutated version of Warren coming down, who's all pissed off and angry looking. And they're like, hey, it looks like Warren, but he looks a little messed up to me. We can handle him probably. And then we see Warren, and he's got like warts all his face, and he's got like the toxic green waste coming out of his mouth. Then the one Cretan guy goes to punch Warren in the face, and because his fist hits him in the face, we see that his hands start to smoke, and then Warren grabs the guy by the throat, and his throat starts to smoke. He throws him up against the wall, and then Warren makes quick, you know, work of the other guy and throws him up against the wall. And then Spike comes down the alleyway. He's like, oh, what the hell's going on here? Spike charges at Warren, and Warren literally grabs him, literally throws him over what looks to be a wall into a different area. Then Warren goes back to the first guy that he, you know, burnt the throat, and literally rams his hand down the guy's throat. Then we see a bunch of the other Cretans all showing up, at the junkyard to talk to Spike because they're going over what happened. Spike's like, Pete and Beethoven were fighting this one guy. I came to help. I got knocked out. And next thing you know, I woke up and they were dead. Spike says I never seen the guy's face. He only saw him from behind. And he's like, the weird thing about it is that he actually kind of looked like Warren. And everyone starts laughing about it. He's like, Warren, that guy's a dweeb. Then we see Warren waking up in his bedroom. Looks like he just fell face down, passed out. And now he's back to his normal self. He's feeling his body up like, oh, what just happened? And then next thing you know, we cut to the girls doing a cheerleader scene. And then Chrissy's, in some abdominal pain by the looks of it. And the coach is like, that's good, Chrissy. That's the spirit. And then we see Chrissy running off as she's holding her stomach. We see Chrissy run to the washroom. And she's looking in the mirror as she's holding her stomach. And then her stomach starts to grow. And she's like trying to push it back in. Like, no, don't do that. Please don't do that. I'm not ready for this. Then she rushes into one of the washroom stalls. And we see her throat start to grow a bit. And then this black alien monster slime thing comes out of her mouth and she spits into the toilet and she starts screaming at it and runs out of the wash. Well, she goes to run out of the washroom. She makes it to like the front door of the washroom area and literally just like passes out on the floor. And the next thing you know, you see Chrissy being taken away by an ambulance. And everyone's like, what happened to Chrissy? Where are they taking her? I don't know, probably the hospital, just a guess. And then the mom's in the hospital being like, what's the matter with her, doctor? She's always been healthy. He's like, I don't know how to tell you this, miss, but she had a miscarriage. And she's like, oh, a miscarriage is fine. She's like, what? A miscarriage? You're wrong. She couldn't have a miscarriage. She hasn't even had sex yet. And now the doctor's saying that she was full term. She was 9 months pregnant. And then next thing you know, we see Warren, sneaking in the check-in on Chrissy in the hospital. I almost said Prissy for some reason. Then we see some random girl going into the ladies' washroom. And she's going into that stall where Chrissy puked into it. And we see that little alien monster trying to get up out of the toilet seat. And she freaks out and flushes it down the drain as she runs out of the washroom screaming. And then we just see like a shot of the pipeline as we hear that monster screaming inside the pipes. And the next thing you know, I don't know how the fuck this works out, but he went down the toilet septic line and comes out of the sink where the kitchen staff is and starts throwing plates all around and then goes back down into the pipeline. Wouldn't there be like a drain stop there? It's Troma. Let's not question it at all. And then we see the little monster come out as the pipe breaks and it falls into a toxic waste container which has no fucking lid on it. That's safe. It's fine. It's like Homer Simpson's around this nuclear waste plant. Then for some reason we cut to see Eddie holding this giant laser that just came in. As he's holding it as a private, he's like, yeah, this is the giant Johnson ever. As he turns it on, it's a random laser pointing up in the sky. One of the scientists comes in. He's like, Eddie, you probably shouldn't be doing that, okay? Let's put the laser down, please. Also, same said scientist drinks out of a beaker. I don't know what's inside the beaker, but, probably safe. I'm sure it's safe. Then the Cretans start to bully a guy, one of the nerd guys. He's like, I just paid for your joints. And then one of the other guys like, hey, it's time to buy some more, though. He's like, I don't want to buy any more. Please leave me alone. He's like, hey, by the way, Spike pulls one of his pants. He's like, it's only $20 now. And there's like, $20? What do you mean? No, I didn't pay that much last time. Then Warren comes in and he's like, you're not going to mess around with me. More kids to poison him, and he knocks the joint out of Spike's hand and it falls into the urinal. And then he literally takes the nose ring guy and literally rips the nose ring right out of his nose, and he's all shocked. And every time Spike goes to punch Warren moves out of the way to the point where Spike punches the wall and starts screaming. And then the girl tries to fight Warren and he actually punches her and he feels bad afterwards. He's like, oh, sorry miss, I didn't mean to punch you in the face, my bad. Then Spike and the caveman looking guy go to give Warren a swirly, and then like the principal or some other guy comes in and stops him from doing it. And he tells the caveman guy to drop the bone. He's like, picks it up. He's like, this is going on your permanent record, you scum. And we see Bob, the guy who broke up the fight, bringing in all the Cretans into the principal's office. Like, I found this on them. And the other guy's like, yeah, that's going on their permanent record. And Bob, he's got to pat them all down to check for weapons for them. And then we see the table, and there's just a shitload of fucking weapons, switchblades, various bones, and probably other things, all just stacked up on a pile. And then the principal guy's like, what happened to you guys? 6 months ago, you were just, you're smart students. And then I guess the bald-headed guy, who's not Bob, is the principal. He's like, you guys are expelled. If I ever catch you guys in here again, the cops are going to come and arrest your ass. And the Cretans are like, we'll go wherever we want to, so good luck with that. And then they started singing the national anthem, which I thought was alright. right, I guess. You know, they're cretins. They'll do whatever the fuck they want, I guess, right? Then we cut to like the nuclear waste plant where we see a bunch of rats just, you know, feeding on the toxic waste that's all on the ground. And then we see a bunch of random workers just falling over and dying as they're grabbing their throats. And one worker just literally walks over to the other guy like, no big deal, Larry. You know, just get up and walk it off. And then the other guy falls over beside like this drunk guy that's sitting on a bench. And he's grabbing his throat and the guy's just like putting his ball down like, hey, you need a drink there, bud? You thirsty? What's going on there, dude? Then we see one of the radiation specialists inside the school using the Geiger counter on like the washroom. He's looking at the actual reading on the machine. He's like, oh wow, that's bad. That's really bad. Oh my god, we gotta close this all off right now. And then we see Warren and Chrissy coming up to the school and they see all the barricades being set up. And then a bunch of their friends show up, Eddie and that, and they're like, hey, they closed off the whole east wing of the school. Biology class and everything's canceled because of all the radiation in there. Then one of the guys sees that there's a fallout shelter sign, so he goes downstairs to go check on the area. Be like, I might as well check it. It's fallout shelter. What's the worst that could happen, right? That guy is then in the fallout shelter and starts coughing. He's like, wow, the smoke's not bad. He takes off his gas mask and he's complaining that he can't breathe in the thing, even though he's got smoke going while he's got his mask on. And then the Geiger reader starts going crazy, going back and forth. He's like, there's no radiation down here. This equipment's just broken. What the hell's going on? Needle's right off the scale, but you know, it's just broken. And then as he's crouched down looking at his machine, we see there's a tub behind him, a container or whatnot of toxic waste for some reason, or liquid. And we see like this monster hand starting to come up as the water's starting to boil. As we look inside, we are looking inside the oil container as it starts to boil more and more. And I guess he's hearing the sounds because then he gets up to go kind of look at it, and he's looking down inside the container, which now has this like red bubbles on top of it. He's looking all confused, like, oh, what's that? And then he drops his gas mask inside. He's like, shit. Yeah, I did that. So then he reaches in to grab the gas mask. You know, if I see a green, reddish liquid that's bubbling, it probably is hot. So therefore, I'm not sticking my arm down in. But anyways, he sticks his arm in anyways. And then he can't get his arm out because the monster's inside the container. And it's like pulling him down. But then he finally pulls the mask out. And he's like, holy shit, what's all that green stuff on my mask? And he's just like, that's it, I'm getting out of here. I'm not staying in here anymore. And he smells something as the monster's moving around that oil container. And he's like, oh god, I gotta check it out. And he's just looking down in the oil container. He's like, what the hell is making that noise? The hand comes out, scratches him in the face, and then he gets thrown, like, taken into the oil container. We see the oil container shaking and bubbling and stuff, and then his severed like forearm and hand goes flying out, and then his security badge goes flying out as well. And you know, he's dead. He's long dead. That monster just made mincemeat out of him. Then we see the nuclear waste plant, or whatever it might be, facility, and Paley's like, I don't care about wet fart. You guys, we're keeping this plant open. And he's like, wait, wasn't there 3 of you? And he's like, yeah, the other guy hasn't come back yet. He's like, well, we're going to scrub this whole school clean across the street because I'm not closing down my plant because you guys got toxic waste out there. And then as he walks away, we just see a sign saying nuclear energy, safe, clean, and effective. Yes, very safe and very clean. And then we see the cretins at the junkyard who's all complaining. They're like, I should be the leader. I'm tired of waiting for Spike. And then Spike shows up with a girl. He's like, hey, how's it going, guys? And the caveman guy's like, it sucks, man. We don't got anyone to sell it. We two can't make any money. And Spike's like, I got a way to get even with the school and Warren all at the same time. And they're like, how? And he points at the car compactor. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. You can't really take that places. But we'll wait and see how that works. Then we see Spike talking to the crew about what they're going to do. I guess Bud and Gonzo have to go make the fat teacher or the principal turn on the alarm system. And then everyone's getting all excited about the plan. And Spike takes a gun out of fucking nowhere and starts shooting in the sky and tells them all to shut up. Then we see Spike heading down to the fallout shelter. This gun that he's got is like fucking something of like Clint Eastwood's dirty hair. Like, I'm not an expert on guns or anything. This is a fucking revolver, but it's fucking giant, man. Fucking beat the shit out of someone just with it if you ran out of bullets. Like, I know you can beat the shit out of anyone with a gun without bullets, you know, just pistol with them a couple times. But like, this one big. Then we see one of the cretins actually grabbing Chrissy and putting a collar on her and like dragging her down into the shelter. And then she starts making out with her and then slaps her. He's like, you're such a bitch. Then we see a bunch of other cretins breaking into Mr. Wesley, the principal's office. Like, where's the emergency evacuation alarm, Mr. Wesley? Something? I don't want to. Then we see that lady drag Chrissy into the fallout shelter where Spike's waiting for her, and Spike starts kissing her, and then Chrissy actually bites him. He's like, ah, fucking bitch bit me. Then, like, the secretary walks into the principal's office where the other cretins are holding Wesley down, and literally the guy's like, didn't anyone ever tell you not to knock first? Like, he pulls out like assault rifle and shoots her like 6 times. And then like the caveman guy goes on the PA system telling everyone that they need to evacuate, and he puts on his like serious voice. And now I'm starting to wonder if the guy who plays the caveman character is actually the same guy who plays the Toxic Avenger. I'm gonna look that up quickly. So upon looking up, he's not the Toxic Avenger. Just he has the same voice as when Toxie's talking, or maybe it's a narration in the Toxic Avenger. But I found out Gonzo's played by Brad Dunker, who's also a writer, and he was the writer for Alien Space Avenger from 1989, which I mentioned earlier on that I'm going to have to watch because, you know, I just need to see it and see what it's about. But he hasn't really done anything. Actually, he did nothing since this. He did My Blind Brother. He was a supporter for a short in 2003, and then he was in a music video called Lloyd K in 2022. But anyways, that's besides the point. We're just going to get back into the movie at hand because that's what you guys are all here for. It's now at this point in time they have the alarm going off in the school. Everyone's starting to panic as they're all trying to rush out of the school because they think something bad's going to happen right away. So they're all trying to get out before, you know, they die, essentially. And then Spike's like, hey, you know what that means, Chrissy? It's an alarm. You mean everyone's leaving the building as I have you by your leash. What are you going to do now, Chrissy? And then Paley gets a call at him. He's like, what? There's a panic at the school? What contamination? What are you talking about? No, there's nothing wrong with the school. What are you talking about? And then we got Warren outside with all the other friends. Like, do you see Chrissy? And they're like, maybe she split like we should have a while ago. And then Warren's like, no, she wouldn't have split without telling us. What are you talking about? She wouldn't have done that. And then Spike tells the other girl, like, go tell Warren that we have Chrissy. And he literally pulls off her necklace and cuts her hand so that she'll bleed on the necklace. And he's like, oh, that'll make them believe us. Go tell them now. Then one of the cretins hands over the necklace to Warren. He's like, Chrissy's in the basement waiting for you. Then we see the cretins are all on their motorcycles as they're running the motorcycles through the alleyways or the hallways of the school. I don't know why I said alleyways. That's fine. Anyways, Warren goes inside the school, and then one of the cretins is chasing him down with a bike, like a chain in hand. And then the caveman cretins like going through the classrooms, kicking over the tables and everything. And then somehow some of the cretins got on top of the school and are throwing stuff off the roof. It's pretty much just a montage of them destroying the schools and then putting spray paint on all the walls and everything else. You know, just causing havoc like cretins would do. Then we see Warren running down to the basement. He's yelling for Chrissy. Chrissy yells back, and then he yells again. And he makes it down to the fallout shelter. That's where we see Spike holding a knife out at Chrissy's throat, being like, back off, man, or she's gonna get it. You know, what should I slice first on her? That's when then Spike hands the other cretin girl, Taru, hacksaw, and be like, hey, let's do some minor surgery here on Chrissy and cut off a nipple. While this is happening, we then see the monster coming up behind them, growing bigger and bigger, and Warren screams, and then he grabs Chrissy and goes to leave the room. And then we see that monster put his fist right through Taru's face and come right out the back, and then Spike's screaming like a little girl as he's trying to shoot the monster, and we see like every time he gets shot there's like a yellow slime that comes out that maybe is blood, but then the monster just literally like bitch slaps Spike to the ground. And then we see Warren and Chrissy running out up the stairs to hopefully safety, I guess. And then we see Spike trying to get away from the monster as we just see like the slimy tail chasing after him as he's screaming. And then we just see the shadow of the monster up against the wall as it's walking past the fallout shelter sign. As we see Warren and Chrissy hiding in a classroom as they're trying to avoid the caveman guy who's doing a stupid ass fucking war cry scream. And Paley finally makes it over to the school, even though the plant's just behind the school. He takes his limo out. He's like, there's nothing going on here. I'll go find out what's going on. There's no emergency whatsoever. Then one of the other cretins is chasing down Chrissy and Warren as they're trying to escape down the hallway. And then the monster literally just clotheslines his face right off. Then Gonzo, the caveman cretin, comes over and finds one of his fellow cretins on the ground, like, you know, in pain. So he throws him over on his back and sees his face is all fucked up and starts doing like a wolf howl, like he's in pain. And then the monster's tail actually comes up behind him and starts choking him out after Gonzo was literally just like licking his friend's face for some fucking reason. I don't understand why. But anyways, then the end of the tail goes right through Gonzo's skull and we can assume he's dead. Then we see one of the cretins driving by on their bike as the girl spray painting the wall, and she accidentally spray paints the monster in the face, and they stop and like, huh? What was that? And then the monster pops up in front of them and literally grabs the guy's head and rips his head right off. And she starts screaming as the head goes flying down the hallway. Then we see the Hitler stash Cretin chasing Chrissy and Warren down the hallway. And then she stops the bike as they're going down a straight hallway, and she pulls out the gun and starts shooting at them, but misses every single shot, even though they're running in a straight fucking line. Then we see Chrissy and Warren hiding in like the science lab area, and then Spike comes stumbling in, holding his stomach because he's bleeding from the stomach, with the gun in hand, pretty much just ready to shoot anything that he sees, even it could be a friend. He probably doesn't care. He's so scared at the moment. Then Warren goes to like grab a vial of acid that's bubbling, and he bumps it and it falls over. And then Spike turns around, points a gun, and he's like, you get up, you're about to die now. And then we see the creature's tail slowly coming into the classroom as Spike's starting ready to cock the gun, and the tail's going straight for Spike. It wraps around his leg and pulls him down to the ground, and he's screaming in pain as he's being dragged through the classroom, trying to grab onto anything to try and save himself from being dragged away, but nothing's working. And he starts like trying to beat up the tail, but nothing's happening at all. And then we just see this creature come up behind like the containers in the classroom, and then like next thing it like shoots some spikes into Spike's face, ironically, I guess. And then as they're going to leave the classroom, Chris and Warren, the creature actually grabs Chrissy quickly, and then we just see Warren trying to pull her away, but then she gets dragged off into the creature. We see Warren looking around, trying to find anything that might help save her, and he sees the big laser. He grabs the laser and starts shooting it at the creature, and then like the picture kind of changes and it inverts itself, and then we just see the laser hitting the creature, and the creature finally lets go of Chrissy as it starts to shake and everything starts flashing bright yellow and red and orange. Next thing we know, we see Paley walking through the school. He's like, oh, look at all this vandalism. Huh, goddamn kids wrecking everything. They run up the stairs and they run into Paley. And Paley's like, what the hell's going on down there? And Paley goes down the stairs like, no big deal. It's just a bunch of kids being dumbasses. Anyways, Paley walks into the science lab at the very time that we see the alien creature starting to glow and shine, and then he just puts his hands up in fear, and then the whole alien monster nuclear waste creature blows up and pretty much takes out the whole skill, just flattens it down, taking Paley out with it, of course. But yeah, we see the whole front half of the school gone. We see a little bit of the building on the back half, and then the PA system comes on. He's like, attention everyone, attention. Tromaville High School is going to be closed for a little while for renovating and remodeling. And then everyone starts cheering and screaming because they're like, no school, yeah, woohoo. It's like, you guys just get transferred to a different school. It's fine, don't worry about it. And then Greg says one phrase like, hey, you think college is going to be this wild? I sure hope so. And then we hear the Nuke'Em High song playing as we see like bulldozers are starting to clean up the rubbish. And then we see like the spray paint on Nuke'Em High, and then this little bit of debris starts shaking, and then that creature's head pops through again as like the baby form again, but like a bigger. And then the movie ends and the credits start to roll. And yeah, that's the end of the movie. And this is just a fun, crazy, silly movie. And on the Rotten scale out of 10, I'm going to give it a solid 6 because it's just crazy and fun. It's kind of weird though that Warren turns into that mutated version of himself, and then we never go back to that mutated version ever again. So I thought that was kind of like a little bit of a disappointment. But seeing the creature design, even though we only see it near the end of the movie, like the last 10 minutes, it's still pretty cool. You see the baby version, but the full grown version is pretty cool, and I enjoyed that a lot. And I'm just a sucker for Troma movies. I am. I could give it a higher score, but I think a 6 is a solid, good score. And definitely highly recommend checking it out. Like I said, it's free on Tubi, so definitely go watch it there. Also, I realized that at the beginning of this movie, I also forgot to say the tagline, which I'm just going to do it now instead of edging in at the beginning and cutting everything up. The tagline, apparently from the UK poster, is they were there to learn the 3 R's. What kind of fucking tagline is that? Couldn't come up with anything better? Nothing better? No? Alright, that's fine. Okay, UK poster. And like I forgot to do the trivia as well because I was trying to get ahead of the game today because it's earlier in the day, so I want to get ahead while I'm child free again, just so I can get as much done as possible. So the trivia for this one, the monster is never seen in a full shot as the entire costume was never finished. They only had bits and pieces that were used as a puppet, hands, face, and legs. I thought we did see like a part of the body, but maybe I was wrong in that one. Apparently there's a goof. After MTV is insulted, Gonzo spits out his mouthpiece onto his giant nose ring. When it cuts to the other character he's talking to, it's gone. When it cuts back to Gonzo, it reappears. This happens several times throughout their conversation. That's fine. Gonzo's a weird, unique character, but I'm going to draw him. Actually, to be honest with you, I might do a full new Class of Nuke'Em High piece, probably like on like an 8.5 by 11. Maybe we'll just ink that up quickly. Well, not quickly, spend a couple hours on it, and then maybe from there, maybe we'll sell it or auction it off or something. I don't know. We'll wait and see. It's probably going to be way done before this episode even comes out. At least that's the game plan. So by this time that this podcast actually comes out, that piece is probably already going to be out on the interwebs. So you can check it out on the YouTube channel, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It'll be on all those sites. At least I hope so. I'm probably going to do that today just so I actually make sure it's done, because this episode's not going to come out for a couple weeks as the moment of recording this. So, but enough of that crap. Let's get ready to pick our next movie. On a quick side note though, tangent. Who would like to see custom thumbnails for each episode? Was that something you guys would be interested in, or is just the basic Rotten Reviews thumbnail fine for you guys? I'm just curious if somebody would like to see custom thumb art for each episode. It's something I've been thinking about doing, but like I said, lots of things on the go always, so maybe it's not something I could do, but maybe I can always do it for the YouTube channel, do custom thumbnails for that, and leave the Spotify channel the same Rotten Reviews thumbnail. Maybe once I get so many done, I'll go back and edit it out. I'm assuming I can go back into Anchor and edit the thumbnails out from there. It's a thought, so let me know down in the comments below, or send me an email at the links below as well. And I would definitely love to hear your thoughts and opinions on that. But anyways, back to picking what we're going to watch next. So we're going to stick with Tubi, and we're going to watch a movie from 1977 for an hour and 35 minutes long. It's a horror sci-fi movie. PG though, so PG, that's fun, right? Kingdom of Spiders. I've never watched this one before. I saved it on my watch list a while ago, so I definitely want to check it out. Pretty much two animal experts learn that thousands of tarantulas have changed their eating habits, putting their town at the center of an 8-legged nightmare. So it should be a fun one, right? Unless you have arachnophobia. So if you guys do have a fear of spiders, I'm sorry, but we're watching that movie, so maybe we'll watch 8-legged freaks at some point too. Maybe I'll just do like a little short review and make it some YouTube content. Who knows. But anyways, like always, make sure to check out Toronto-based horror band The Blood Opera. The band that always does the outro music for each and every episode. I know there's actually a couple episodes that has Slasher Dave on as well. All their links will be linked down below in the description below. You can find them on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Facebook, pretty much anywhere and everywhere. And they're definitely a cool group of people that would definitely love chatting up about horror movies. So definitely go give them a follow and a link and listen to their tunes. And as always, find all my social links down below as well. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. It's at @, easy enough. If you want, feel free to leave me email at rottenreviewspodcast@gmail.com, or feel free to leave a star rating on Spotify or a review on Apple Podcasts. I would definitely love hearing from you guys. Leave some suggestions as to what you want me to watch next. Leave some comments on the YouTube videos as to what you want me to draw next, or what games you want to see me play in the near future. I'd love to hear all that kind of feedback and response from you guys. And thank you everyone for checking out the podcast, checking out the YouTube channel. I appreciate it all. I see everything growing, and I see the community growing, and I appreciate it a lot. It means a lot to me. I'm glad you guys are liking the content that I'm making, and it just makes me want to do more content and push more things out. But I'm just trying to build a catalog that way if things fall through.
I have, episodes to fall back on, technical things, anything could break at any point in time, so I want to be ahead of the game if something does happen that way. But, as always, I'll talk to you guys all later, and, take it easy, enjoy the heat. If you're in Canada, hopefully the haze isn't bothering you too much, and the smoke and everything. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace!
Whisper in the classroom, the writing on the wall. What's blood for, if not for shedding?
You used to play that childhood game. closet